All right. Hello and welcome everyone to another Doc Talk. I am Ike Worth here in Portland, Oregon at the world headquarters of Sports Management Worldwide. Looks like we got a great group in here today, and I'm sure we'll have a few more joining us here as well. If this is your first Doc Talk, a little kind of housekeeping for you. Make sure to use the chat function down below to introduce yourself and network. Feel free to share that LinkedIn profile with those that are here in the Doc Talk itself. Also, we do want to hear from you. However, we will keep your microphones muted until you have questions. If you would like to ask a question, we, of course, would love to hear from you. Click the participants button, which is found at the bottom of your screen, and then there is the blue raise hand button. That'll let us know that you have a question, and then we'll bring you on screen to ask that question with Dr. Lashbrook and with Michael Brooks, which both of them are here now. And Dr. Lashbrook, I'll throw it over to you.
Thank you, Ike and Cerise and the entire staff for putting this together. Another Doc Talk. It's kind of the coming out of COVID. We'll be back on the road sooner than you realize. This is our newest exciting course. We do a Doc Talk to introduce our instructor and the conversation. We want people to get careers in sports. I predict post-COVID is going to be a very exciting time, like a roaring 20s or roaring 20 wonderful. And again, I can encourage you, go down below. You can type notes to each other, have some fun, share your LinkedIn. And Adam will be in at the end answering your questions. We'll have some fun here. We appreciate you taking the time and your busy schedule. So we're going to go to Kansas City now to a person that I've met. And I'm excited about this course. And I want to introduce, I call him my half brother because his name is Michael Brooks, not Lashbrook, unfortunately, but Michael Brooks. Michael, welcome in. Can you hear us and see us?
I can hear you guys just fine. I can see you as well.
Yeah.
How are you doing? I love the mask there. Go Chiefs.
We got a lot in common being both from Kansas City. Michael, I grew up in the era of the Pong back in the 70s when the warning was it could hurt your Sears and Roebuck TV. But let's go back to your growing up in high school, where you went, your college, and how you ended up in this world. Take your time, because every story is an inspiration to those that want to work in sports. There's a lot of people in here that are very interested. So let's start with you, back up high school and how you evolved into where you are today.
Sure. So let me start with this little tidbit. Nelson, who I think everyone's familiar with, right? They do, TV ratings and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
They came out a while back, and if you could guess what the average age of a gamer is in the United States, I bet it'd surprise you. Their findings, which has been supported by a number of other groups, is 34 years old, which is close to my age, right? So I'm hitting that average age of a gamer here. But my story kind of makes a lot of sense. And for those of you who are, my age or older, this will make sense.
Yeah.
So in high school, I was a good athlete, athlete for a period of time. Played football most of my life until at a certain point in my senior year of college. I think I was laid out on the ground. And I was wondering when everyone got so big and so fast all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But during all this time, I've always been a gamer, all right? Ever since my uncle, because my parents would never do this, my uncle bought me my first Nintendo 64, quickly followed up by my first PlayStation, and it was off to the races since then. And I had a good group. My best group of friends growing up were the people I played games with. Not necessarily the people I played on, the football team. We were still friends, sure, but not the guys like, what are you doing after school, right? Where are you hanging out? Let's hang out on the weekend. Those are my gaming buddies. And that continued into college. But of course, there's nothing formally for me to do or any of my friends to do in terms of doing anything education-wise or institution or team-oriented in terms of video games. So went to school, finance and economics at the University of Kansas. So go Hawks! If
Rock Chalk Jayhawks.
Rock Chalk Jayhawks. If anyone's a fan of KU there. Well, it was a tough year for their basketball team, but after that, I became. So I will say this: the University of Kansas does a great job. If you are not a basketball fan, by the time you graduate, you will become a basketball fan. They will indoctrinate you. They have full plans on how to convert people into basketball enthusiasts, and I was no different.
By the way, I grew up when Wilt Chamberlain played there, and I've been a Jayhawk, even though I worked at Missouri. So I have a dysfunctional loyalty. But anyhow, keep going.
Look, same. I was there for the last time that they were in the same conference together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So everyone younger than me has no idea about the
Right.
Mizzou
Yeah. They hate each
rivalry. That
other. Right.
right? We understand, but they don't have
Right.
any idea. Like, what about Mizzou? No, they're in the
Yeah.
SEC or something. We don't know who they are. I'm like, yeah, you missed out on one of the greatest rivalries ever.
Yeah. It was unbelievable.
But anyways, turned into a basketball junkie. Got an offer to intern for the basketball tournament for the NAIA, right, which is
Yeah.
a small
I
collegiate
remember. Yeah.
athletics, right, the headquartered in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And it was either that or go and trade commodities, specifically corn, out of Lincoln, Nebraska. So, looking at the two, which one for a young guy sounds more fun? Well, I'm going to go basketball. If I make a mistake, hey, I made a mistake for a year. I can always go back and trade corn, which sounds,
Yeah.
again, still super exciting. A lot more lucrative, mind you, because that was the
Yeah.
highest
Right.
corn price in U.S. history as the year I decided to do that.
Right.
But I must have done something good because they offered me a full-time job that they created. I wasn't replacing someone. They wanted someone to come in here. Specifically on sponsorships. And then it morphed as I was working with the NEI into, you know, Michael Brooks doesn't like to stay in one specific lane. He likes to explore, meet with other people, and figure out how to do things in a group mentality, whether that's with other institutions or with other organizations like the NCA or for-profit businesses. Doesn't
Yeah.
really matter so long as there's a way to do something
Yeah.
that we couldn't do by ourselves previously. And then it morphed into another position they created for me. I was the director of strategic partnerships, so handling all external relations, non-member relations for the association. And that got me in all sorts of things, whether working with game officials and the NCA, so everyone's on the same platform, getting educated in the same systems,
Mhm.
getting insurance, all that crazy thing. If you're familiar with Arbiter, whether you like it or not, either you're welcome or I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I was a big part of that. But amongst many other kind of thought leading initiatives, right? Just because the NEI was small college athletics doesn't mean that was where it should stay, right? We had an opportunity where there was an appetite to explore things that were never explored and work with any group who was willing to help us do
Right.
that. That type of mentality, though, where you're always looking for what more can be done, right?
Right.
Here's my job description. Everything else I really want to do is outside of that description. And so long as you're given that leash to run with, I think that's a very special position you might find yourself in. And that's naturally what drew us into esports. We were looking at the space, and we saw that there were a handful of NEI institutions, which was later followed by some NCA institutions, who had started varsity level esport programs, competitive gaming programs. That they treated no differently than they would any other athletic program, right? Football, basketball, soccer, baseball, you name it, right? You add a coach, you have facilities, you have an intercollegiate schedule, you're following academic eligibility rules, all of that. But they were struggling to, one, convince other schools that this was a road worth pursuing. Secondly, they were struggling to figure out how to mix what is a digital activity to an analog activity, which is that traditional athletics. There was a
Right.
lot of areas where they just tend to bump up against each other. And we brought all those schools together for about a year. And at that point in time, there were 6 institutions that had varsity sport programs across the United States. And at the conclusion of basically that year, and we're talking about like multiple meetings in person over 4 months, the conclusion was that this thing needs organization. It
Mhm.
needs third party organization. It needs to be separate from traditional athletics, and it needs a chance to grow natively by itself. And that was the formation of the National Association of Collegiate Esports, which I'm currently the executive director of today. And since then, I mean, it's just been growth, right? Convincing and evangelizing institutions on why esports is important for their campuses, why it's important for their students, how to make the most of it as an institution, whether we're talking revenue or branding or academic programming. And then showing schools step by step how do they go about it while working with, again, third party groups, publishers who own the games, media groups, so that we can promote them in the greatest way we can, like Twitch or a bunch of other groups
Right.
I can mention. And really, again, it's still that mentality of bring all these disparate groups together. They each hold a piece of the puzzle, and now basically you, the organizing group, bring them all together to make one whole piece. And that's kind of my backstory there. Yeah, got roped in there because I think I was the youngest guy around the table who knew what any of the video games people were talking about were, and naturally got myself in trouble
Yeah.
by trying these collaborative type efforts.
Going back 100 years, Wally Schwartz is my junior high instructor, was many years in the NAIA office
The
at
great
Dixon
Wally
Hotel.
Schwartz, yeah.
And I'm a Fort Hays State coach and graduate there. But go back to the NAIA, I always loved their tournaments. Same thing we did with the NCAA this year. Okay, let's stay into the NAC, the growth of the NAC and job opportunities. And I have 3 or 4 questions, and we're going to open it up because there's a lot of people in the room, including Ike, that have questions. And we're going to do Q&A here. And I really appreciate you sharing your story. What is the growth of NAC? How many organizations? What are opportunities out there? We don't want people just taking a course to be a gamer. We also want to look at the business opportunities. Talk about that.
Sure. Well, and it's just NACE for short, NACE. But NACE for short. I lost that marketing fight a long time ago. People kept saying NACE. I'm like, it's NACE, and nobody cared to listen to me. So it's now permanently cemented as NACE. But you're absolutely right. So it's just like being a professional athlete or being an athlete, period, right? You always look at that professional level, like, how do I be that guy or that gal?
Yeah.
Knowing that most of the people in the industry, I would say those of you who are employed in the athletic space today, you're probably in a similar boat. We're not on the field or the court. No, we're doing all the background work it takes to actually make that possible.
Yeah.
And that is no different than esports, right? It takes a full broadcast team, especially because you can't physically go and see the game. It's all happening in the digital space. So you have to have a way to transplant that from the digital space to the analog world. You have to basically change your mentality around event operations. You have marketing, you have community building as well, community moderating. You have totally different types of sponsorship activations now because, again, everything is in digital space. And by coincidence, those exact same skill sets that you need to be successful in esports along any of those areas I just mentioned are the exact same skill sets that some of the most powerful corporations and companies in the world are looking to hire because they're bleeding edge. They occur in digital space. If we talk to Twitch, who's owned by Amazon, they have, last time I checked, they had over 1,500 jobs unfilled in the United States because they can't find people with a skill set to do it. So the schools, colleges, universities are just not teaching yet. They're getting there, but higher education is a slow-moving vehicle.
Very slow.
We have all different policies to get different academic programming in place. We do see some schools moving towards that direction. I'm talking about a handful of institutions, not a large influx yet. But esports, just by natively doing what it needs to do in order to be successful, hits upon those very objectives, which are also very areas where a lot of the students are already interested in at a personal level.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're familiar with sports management programs, you can kind of look at that and now think, okay, now if we digitized every aspect of that, what would that look like? The answer is esports.
Let me share with you, being a former athletic director, and now we start with one course, and now we have 20,000 alums from 163 different countries. And just for a moment, I came back before COVID. My wife and I were in India, and I noticed the popularity of esports. But before I get to the global part, how many members are in the NAC, the NACE, if I may, just to give an idea of the growth?
So again, 2016, we started with 6 institutions. Today, we have 218 member institutions, ranging, just use traditional athletics as a barometer there, ranging from NJCA 2-year institutions all the way up to some of the largest D1 institutions in the United States and Canadian institutions. I mean, NACE is really the basket for varsity level programming at all colleges and universities, regardless of their size.
We talk about cross-pollination and synergies. It seems to me, back to my story in India, whether it's the MBA team or professional team, colleges are realizing the branding loyalty of their university and the esports. It complements each other very nice and cross-pollinating. Your comment about how it can help your entire athletic program and not just be limited to winning an esports title.
Yeah. Look, there's only one winner. You choose a sport, you choose a game. There's only one champion at the end of the day, and that's the nature of competition. But because of esports and how it operates, where it lives, a lot of the schools, a lot of our largest institutions actually have huge interest on the academic side. And they pick their space, right? They're not like,
Right.
someone who comes out there and says, we're going to give you a degree in esports.
Mhm.
My first question would be like, in what aspect of esports?
Yeah.
That's like saying a degree in sports, right? Like
Yeah.
nobody works in sports. We work in broadcasting, team management, coaching, right?
Right.
Administration. You pick your spot, fundraising. So esports is very much like that. And yeah, absolutely. There are schools like Boise State University has an amazing broadcast program. And
Mhm.
they actually have more students in their broadcasting program for esports than they do actual participants, competitors in the
Yeah.
space. And Mizzou is a great example as well, where they're tied into they got a great school of journalism, as you're
Yeah.
well aware, and that's deeply tied in their esports program. So you have different institutions specializing in different aspects of esports right
Right.
now. Um,
Let me ask you this way. We just had a doc talk. We have a new course called NIL, Name, Image, and Likeness. And we all know with the Supreme Court and pending legislation, the world is going to be upside down in college athletics as we know it and as we grew up with it. The name, image, and likeness to an esport player. I've been to Vegas. I've seen some arenas that I made, but let's talk about the marketing, an athlete also being an esports and being a football or basketball player, the cross-pollination of growth there and the kind of money somebody could make someday based on the platform of NACE and NIL that's going to be legal in the next few months.
yeah. So NIL is interesting in how it won't impact esports. So I mean, so let me take a step back. So
Yeah.
esports, as it's naturally started, has been separate from traditional athletics, including
Mhm.
the rule sets, the bylaws of the NCAA, the NAIA, the NJCA, all those organizations, right? For the longest time, there was just NACE in the question, and our constitution of bylaws, which is like any other membership associations made by our member institutions, right? They propose it, it's put to a vote. If it passes, then we include it in the appropriate section, and that's what we enforce moving forward. But NIL really changes the fundamental framework of traditional athletics. For esports, though, we've been operating under that
Yeah.
for the entire time, right? Students under NACE, any one of our member institutions, even outside of NACE, at the
Right.
club level or the varsity level, doesn't really matter, have always had the opportunity to make money in many different ways, from their own commercial rights to their
Yeah.
own streaming channels, their own training programs, their own marketing campaigns, their own um, uh, uh, merch stores, right? That's all been true today. Even like any one of our students by association rules can do that. There's no problem
Yeah.
there. Whether they have the time to successfully do that, compete, and also be a student, that's another question. But that's not nothing there is prohibited by the rules. So we look at NIL, even if with the recommendations from the NCAA on the new ways that schools can interact with their students and what their students can do, esports still is much further in terms of the rights granted to a
Absolutely.
student. And you're naturally going to see that anytime when it's a brand new thing, right? When you talk about esports and you're trying to conceptualize the opportunities there, it's that whole blue ocean strategy. There's so much more that's unbuilt and undefined in esports than is, and to try to put constraints around that immediately, there just was no appetite from institutions, for fear of we're totally going to screw this up. So let's give people room to swim and figure out where it goes. And
Yeah.
so right now, yeah, as a student under NACE, you have multitudes more rights than a typical student in traditional athletics.
No, I get excited at 72. I'm twice your age. I'm fascinated with the business of sports. Give me a number as we encourage now. Raise your hand if you want to talk to Michael. This is not about us telling you how much we know or Michael tell you. What question do you have? Any question is not a dumb question. We'd love to help you ask questions, navigate. How do you make money in the esports world? Talk about the price. We know that sports, I call it a $1 trillion business going to 2 trillion. We're in a revolution coming out of COVID, Michael. And I mean that with globalization and football. We go to London every year and cricket coming to America, et cetera.
Those
We're in a
media right
global
deals keep on skyrocketing. It's
yeah.
it's
What
crazy how
give
high
us
they
some
get.
examples of the numbers? Because I think a lot of people that love esports or love the opportunity don't see the business opportunities. And yet where there's money, there's opportunity. And give us
Yeah.
kind of a little take on that business, as
I
you would
mean,
say.
pick your space, really. So, for example, there's been a boom, and yeah, COVID did add a little bit of hiccup, but there's been a boom in esport facilities popping up in every major city in the United States and expanding out to suburbs as well. And we see this at the casual level, groups for casual gamers to get together and compete. Every single one of our member institutions is required to have a dedicated facility on campus. And we're seeing on the professional side for their facilities, what the Philadelphia Fusion, I think, was a $40 million build right in between their football stadium and their baseball stadium. Like they share the parking lot, which I think is insane. But you're looking at the commercialization of event spaces pretty much, right? And dedicated esport facilities. That's been a huge, huge thing growing forward. But then it's basically everything in traditional athletics that that makes money is being replicated either at a starting level or even a larger level in esports, where let's talk about basic things that coaches do. Recruitment camps, right? Training camps.
Right.
That is now a thing in esports. It started up in real numbers last year. COVID accelerated that because now everyone's digital. Well, you can still do all that. Heck, you can still compete fully as a varsity program, never needing to be in person, and that includes the students on your own team. We're looking at the media rights is a big deal, but complicated because of the publisher involvement and them owning the IP, right? They're always going to be at the table and the deciding voice of what can and can't be done. But that, if you look at the publishing deals on media rights, they're up in the hundreds of millions of dollars right now, especially with League of Legends and Overwatch in particular. Huge sponsorship activations with name the consumer brand like Visa, MasterCard. What we have, Cheetos, name the brand. They're all involved in esports already. I will say that it's more experimental, right? Because everything is still so fragmented. There's not like a media buy market that exists like in traditional media or traditional athletics, where like, I know my demographics. I just want to get this many impressions over this point in time. And I'm looking at this activation level or engagement level. Nothing like that exists in esports yet. Everything is still very fragmented.
Yep, though. That's what I love about. I love it. Michael, let's talk about sports betting. It is a major catalyst of what's going on, particularly post-COVID and revenue recovery for states. More and more states are adopting it right on your phone. Talk about sports betting and esports, if I may.
So sports betting has been interesting, mainly because of the names behind it. So I don't know if you guys watch Shark Tank, or everyone's probably a fan of football, or at least aware of football. But you've got the Kraft family putting huge investments into esports betting, right? You got Mark Cuban doing the same thing. You have large, celebrity names investing behind cryptocurrencies that are meant specifically for esports betting and gambling. It's here. I don't have the most recent number, but I know if 2 years ago, $354 million was gambled in esports. And that was on a fragmented market where there is no market share leader, right? So it's very much still a battlefield going on right now to capturing as much users as possible. Now, it's been interesting because we've seen, and the state of Michigan is an example here, where there's been legislation passed that specifically targets traditional sports and the gambling over there. But because of the broad language that's used, it's also, hitting esports, where it's just so much harder to manage because a lot of these firms are not in the United States. They're global. There's a lot of anonymity there, right? Like you're behind a username, whether this foreign company who's operating over whatever URL and whatever server cares to share with the U.S. government or not. That's a totally a fair question. So it is a bit of the Wild Wild West there, but heavy names throwing a lot of weight around, a lot of dollars around, trying to be the home for this place moving forward. And I think more often than not, you're going to see esports wrapped up into traditional sports betting, mainly because politicians just not seeing the core difference between the two, and writing language that tends to be a little bit too broad. And like we were talking to the governor's office in the state of Michigan, and we brought this impacts esports. We're not saying if that's good or bad, just it will. And their response was, we didn't think about esports when we wrote it, but you're right. That was it, right? And like it's too late to make a friendly amendment to it, but we can see about fixing it later. And really, our point was just hey, we just want to make sure you guys were aware. And it sounds like you weren't, so now you are. Great. let the voters
Well, you know,
decide.
to me, I say this with flattery. You really are a pioneer in the industry, particularly putting together this kind of like an NCAA organization. I think it's as exciting as get. Michael, I recruited you, and I just from day one since I met you, I talked to you, and you know, with COVID, online education is everybody in the world converted to it. I feel the same way about esports. You don't have to wear a mask when you play. I mean, we always say no mask and bring a flask. And Michael, before I get into you talking about the course, now we're taking some questions. Dana has a question. Dana, come in here, introduce yourself, and thanks for coming in. Go ahead, Dana.
Hi, how are you? I'm Dr. Dana Emerson from Coastline College, and some of my colleagues are here, and some of the people here I've seen in other webinars. So, hey, y'all. But my question is, at Coastline, we are in the process of building out our academic program for esports. We started with non-credit classes to build interest, and we definitely want to bridge over into the credit side of the house. And we want to start, obviously, with the business of esports. My question for you is, where should we start with that? So within business, and I believe our business admin department chair is here as well, within that business admin profile, within that degree, where should we start? Should we just take our classes and then lean them towards esports, or should we do a whole new naming convention with new content, new curriculum, and then push it forward that way and still call it the business of esports?
And let me add something, Michael, before I give you the mic. No pun intended. Dana, I've been a professor for 50 years, and Sports Made Worldwide was designed to be a complement to your curricula. There's a lot more bureaucracy, if I may, as you know, and we offer courses. Many students take them under our virtual internship program and count it for college credit under their catalog, if I may. But that's kind of where we come. We're kind of a course that gets you started, information reviews. We're not the total 4-year accredited major. We don't want to be, but I love your question. Michael, your thoughts, your vision going forward, because you kind of self-taught yourself, and we're so delighted to have you as an instructor. And I think it's going to lead to a lot of opportunities out there. Thank you, Dana.
Yeah, absolutely great question. And I will first start off by saying I'm probably the worst person to ask personally, because I am self-taught, right? Like esports as it is today didn't exist at all, let's say 6 years ago. So anyone who's been leading at a very high level is basically just been covered in scars from learning. But what is important about what you're talking about is because the people I try to hire, the people my colleagues try to hire, are the people we're looking for a firm foundation with a proper tool belt to do what we're doing, professionalize what we're doing. And that is critical for our growth, right? It is very difficult for me to fill the open spots that we have, because we get people who are strong in one area but are lacking fundamentals. And to be honest, we're a fast-moving organization. I don't have the time to teach fundamentals when I'm also asking them to lead in the areas they were hired for. And that wouldn't be a service to our members as well and our students. So,
well, we're lucky to get him even for an hour a week. Dana, your follow-up, and I'll do a follow-up. Dana, anything else?
Yeah, well, I just, again, like, should it be specifically named esports business admin, or could we still do our business admin and then do some esports industry directed courses and fold those into the program or degree that already exists? And I want to say this, that our department chair of our program, she's waiting in the queue with her hand up as well. That's Erin.
Okay. Well, let's take her question if she's here. Do you want to? Does she have her question? We can go to her next.
Hi, Erin Thomas from Coastline College Business Department.
Yeah, thank you for coming in, and go ahead. And Michael, I'll let you finish we just don't want to lose her. Go ahead.
Michael, you mentioned the fundamentals. So when you say that, and again, we in career education are always looking at what employers are looking for. So can you be specific about those fundamentals that you're looking for in hires?
Absolutely. So it obviously depends on the position, but absolutely working in the digital space. And I'll define what that means for me in a second. But we're looking at organizing online communities being essential, right? And we, I don't know what your institution's using to communicate among staff. We've seen a lot of schools pivot to Discord, even, which is, if you're familiar with Stack, it's like a gaming version of Stack. And that, to be able to utilize that, know how to create moderation tools, auto moderation bots, how to create your own bots through coding has been very, very important in almost every aspect of what we do, because we're bringing a lot of outside groups in for specific purposes and trying to translate that out to the entire user base, all of our members, institutions, and students. Additionally, we're looking at very heavily at online event management. Now, this still involves in-person events, right? We do massive events with our partners over at DreamHack, and those are only going to increase once COVID allows us to, right? Vaccinations improve and all that. But it's a hybrid model, right? Because you're having your fans engage in person, you're having your players engage in person, but everything they're doing is in digital space, and I have to pull back out of the digital space to present to the in-person audience. At the same time, you're trying to moderate your interaction and, again, showcase the engagement with usually multiple massively larger online audience who's interactive. This is not like me turning on my TV and watching the Kansas City Chiefs play. On esports is totally different. I, as a gamer, as a fan, am expected that I can engage in real time with the other community members. I'm in the chat room, I'm blasting my emojis, right? All of that is an expectation in esports, but that requires much more aggressive management and coordination than anything you would expect in traditional media. And then, the other areas that you're looking at, your sponsorships, your sales side is totally different because your revenue streams are different as well. Ticketing is not really a thing in esports. Concessions, merch sales are not really a thing in esports because there's so much more presence online than in person. And so now you're shifting the ways that you gain revenue and trying to expand upon that.
And those revenue sources are what? Ad sales?
Right. So yeah, ad sales are huge. That is the primary revenue driver in esports, period, is sponsorships and advertising. But merch stores are incredibly rapidly evolving. They move frequently. Their product lines will shift basically every single week, and that is intentional to create basically a greater value per fan, right? Your engagement opportunities are totally different. And then the types of activations you're doing are usually much more numerous, and you're doing it with a lot more different partners in esports out of necessity, right, to create those revenue streams. There are quite a few books I can share written by basically some people at our members' institutions about this very subject, right? How do they raise revenue for their programs? What is sustainable? What are not? How does that shift from how they initially thought?
Right.
And it's been fantastic. Dana, to answer your question just very, very quickly, you asked, should you basically add esports to existing academic programming?
Right.
I just want to, I don't want to leave you out because I did have a thought there. We have a lot of our schools who have academic programming in esports, usually specific areas within esports. I will mention that as critical. Some have added certificate programs to existing degree programs and have been successful there. But obviously, everything in that certificate program is still geared towards whatever degree program that is, right? Additionally, we've seen some start their own academic programming, whether it be a 2-year or 4-year program, associates, or an actual full-year bachelor's degree in esports. But again, it still focuses on the business of esports or anything along those lines. My one word of caution is we have seen some institutions try and fail to take existing academic programming and just basically put esports in the title, right? And some curriculum change that we've seen only a few schools try, and those schools have not had success doing that. And it's kind of disingenuous too, right? If you're, I'm here to learn about esports business or esports event management, and really the curriculum is still like sports event management. It's really, really a short curtain to look over and see like there's not a lot of depth there for my specific interest. So that's a one word of caution I'll add is you really do want to have it speak specifically to esports.
Right. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Michael. That's very helpful. Thank
you. And Michael, we will talk about the course before close out. We still have a couple more questions I want to take. Our whole philosophy is every hour, every week, Michael will answer the question for those in the course. And there's a lot of questions, and I know Michael's going to grow. And Michael, one thing about our company, I enjoy getting questions and challenges all over the world. You're not only qualified, I think you get the the future, and you want to grow the sport, and we want to be part of that. Janet has a question. Janet, come in with your introduction.
Janet, you're muted right now.
Yeah, I was trying to get my mouse to move over to mute. And so I apologize because I misunderstood the purposes. By the way, I'm Janet Walber. I'm the Assistant Director of Athletics and the Senior Women's Administrator at Concordia University, Chicago.
Yay.
And yes, Dr. Lashbrook, I had you for a class in my doctoral program.
I remember, right?
Yeah, I just have to write the dissertation. Anyway, because we're currently in the process of changing our esports club into a varsity sport, and it's going to fall underneath my oversight. And I'll be honest, the whole world of esports is very foreign to me. So I just saw esports, so I signed up for it without realizing that we're addressing more of the business side of it. And then we're looking at the academic side of it. And so originally my question was just going to be like, where do I even start with trying to figure out how this esports would fit in amongst my football, basketball, volleyball, softball, athletic programs. And, you know, because I'm looking at it from the compliance standpoint and that type of thing. And already just hearing the difference of rules and stuff, my head is wanting to explode.
Well, that's why you need to take the course, and we'll get to that later. Go ahead, Michael. It's a great question, Janet.
Yeah,
and good to see you.
Absolutely great. Janet, I feel your pain there. This is a conversation I have a lot of administrators. So I'll say two quick things to you. One, you should probably talk to our memberships personnel, because that's what they do, right? Whether a school decides to be a NACE member or not, we want schools to be healthy and successful, period. And we have a ton of data collected over the last 5 years to help schools do that. It is, tactical data. It's not just here's a bunch of data, mine as much as you want, good luck. No, we actually broke it down to actual steps to take. You can, of course, deviate from the steps if you want. That's your own prerogative. But if you just followed our steps, you're going to at least be as successful as our most average successful program, right? It always goes to the average. I'd also say you're a Concordia institution. We've got like 7 Concordia members. I don't know how interconnected the Concordia system is.
If it's all the Concordia Moorhead in Minnesota is not part of us, but Concordia St. Paul is part of us. We're a group of 8 institutions. We used to be 10 and now we're down to 8. That we're all sister schools. We're all part of the central where we all report to St. Louis.
Yeah. So I apologize. I exaggerate a little bit. Yeah. We have 4 Concordia members, all that you mentioned there. So Wisconsin, St. Paul, Ann Arbor. You already mentioned Seward, which you said is not part of the Concordia system.
Oh, the Moorhead is not part of our Seward.
Moorhead. So,
but they're all Lutheran.
4 of your peer institutions who are members of NACE with active programming. If you won't do it, I will. I'll connect you to them as well, and you can get your right from the horse's mouth.
I can't remember if Wisconsin was doing, because some institutions put it underneath their student life, and some put it underneath athletics, and we're going to be the lucky ones to put it underneath athletics.
That's great. Let's keep the ball rolling. Thank you so much, and good to see you. Let's go to William with your introduction and question for Michael. Michael, you're doing a great job, and I'm excited about talking about the course. Welcome in, William.
Hi, my name is William John, Assistant Professor, Sport Management Program in University of West Georgia. We're trying to extend our, currently, our esports is an esports club with a 10 gaming computer, but the provost, Dr. Preston, and my chair, Dr. Brian Moser, really interesting about extending the esports program. So we are building the advisory council, and we're trying to extend make some esports stage and a broadcasting system, and building academic programs, and also varsity team too. I'm the one who make a budget about that, and you already answered a part of my questions about NACE membership. There's a membership fee per academic years, and as far as I know, NACE provides us some networking and schedule esports camp, and college student athlete recruitment and support for equipment. Can you give us more details about that?
Why should they join?
Why should they join? So we do a lot, and I don't know if you're looking at one of our flyers or something and just reading off the list, but yeah, it's not an exhaustive list of what we do. So obviously, most schools come to us because they want to compete with other programs at a professional level, even in the collegiate space. That obviously involves all the competition, or most of the competition that their teams facilitate or their schools facilitate teams in. But also the rules, eligibility, structure, and enforcement behind all of that to make that seamless. Beyond that, though, yeah, you'll find us heavily engaged on the education side with institutions, showing them how to build programs, what they should look at when hiring staff, how to run programs as well. So more than you can build it and here's the keys and run with it, we'll actually show you how to do it because you're going to be living in our ecosystem. So it behooves us to make sure you know how to operate in that system as well. In terms of product support, which I think was your question, yeah, we've got a number of official partners, but certainly a number of just relationships with manufacturers, right? Whether it's Dell, HP, MSI, iBuyPower, CyberPower, whoever it is, right? That we connect our institutions directly with the manufacturers. And if they're a NACE member, obviously there's some benefits there, usually on free product support, free or discounted pricing as well. And some other benefits, or we just make the connection to the actual decision makers at these corporations. So if you want to engage in a sponsorship, that's not our business, but we'll make the connection to the right individual at those organizations. And they know that we're doing that, by the way. We're not surprising anyone here, right? Like, hey, you're the COO of MSI. Great, fantastic. Here's a school that wants a sponsorship. And that guy going, why are you sending this to me? No, we only do that when we have agreement from our partners on the manufacturing side and also the school's interest.
Sure.
We're very respectful. We don't share contact information unless specifically asked by our institution.
Sure.
First.
Thank you very much, William. And Michael, let's get into you and I have been working on the course. We call secret sauce, including information interviews and resume service. We're very interested in somebody monetizing their passion for esports. We're not interested in just a certificate and good luck to you. We're a friend of the universities and we want to be, but let's talk about your anticipation of what somebody would learn in 8 weeks, at least your overview of it based on what we put together.
Yeah, absolutely. So the areas that we specified within the curriculum is really focused in a few different areas, and some more than others, just to be transparent. It is very little is actually focused on how to be a better gamer. I don't think there's any lessons on that. If you're wanting to be the best Fortnite player you can be, this is not the course for you. I'll let you. There's a million and one other coaches who'd love to have you. This is not for you. Yeah. What this does focus is on the professional and the scholastic space. Obviously, I'm relying heavily upon my experience in the scholastic space. Thankfully, the esports world is small, not out of a necessity. It's just small because of a lack of people with the skill sets, which we're hoping to change in part by this. But this is just a small part of the bigger solution. But also looking at the professional space and bringing in some of our relationships, whether that be some of the top sport agents in the esports space in North America, which is one of the largest esport markets, period. I think we're, depending on the game, we're the first or second. China tends to dominate in some other areas just with their population size. But absolutely having a place in marketing, event management, heavy focus on strategic partnerships and sponsorships. Those two usually go hand in hand. You're working a lot with brands to build something brand new. I'll give an example there. Intel and AVGL, right? They sponsored Intel Inspires or created Intel Inspires. That was more than a sponsorship. That was actual asset creation to help connect students to colleges and universities, because brands in this space at least are interested in being a part of solutions with their core customer demographic, not just slapping a name on something and calling it good. And that type of change in mindset is essential to being successful in esports. But also looking at ways that you can manage your teams as well, which is incredibly important if you're looking for the scholastic space and being a coach or director. So we touch upon some areas more so than other, but we're trying to really target the professional staff positions that exist within the esports space for all those, and not just esports endemic, but also if you're working in marketing, for any brands, right? That's the question we most often get, is how do we even get involved in esports? So if you're on the brand side or wanting to be on the brand side with a flavor or hard positioning and activating in esports, we want to showcase what opportunities exist today, where opportunities being created tomorrow, and how traditional brands can engage in this space as well. I think that is a very unique aspect to this curriculum, and something that we did spend some time certainly looking at as well. I don't know if I'm missing anything more.
Well,
but
I
yeah,
think we posted some of the items there. Sharice has it. Michael, we'll accept any more questions here. We always stay on time. These are an hour chat, and all our classes, you'll give us an hour every week, and they get a chance to go around the room, sometimes twice. We have as many as 20, 30 students in a class, and sometimes 10. Either way, the launch with Doc Talk is very, very exciting. We're lucky that we matched up. I know you're going to have fun. We're going to have fun. Michael, what's a day like you in this job you have now? I'm just curious. Walk me through your day in the world of esports and college sports athletics, college esports.
A
NACE.
day in my shoes, I will tell you, it looks different every single day. We're still a relatively small team at the national office here at NACE, and I'm the odd man out. So we've got great people in charge of different aspects, different departments within NACE. Where I usually come in is one of three different things. One is they need more resources, whether that be financial or skill sets or just human power, right? And they come to me. My job as I guess the boss, for lack of a better way to state it, is to make that happen for them, to get obstacles out of the way and give them the resources to do what their jobs are. Secondly, is I work a lot with our leadership groups that's on strategic vision, planning, strategic partnerships as well for how the association will grow and evolve moving forward. We recently had a partnership announced with NACE, that's the North American Scholastic Esports Federation. That's one of the three big organizations in the high school space here in the United States. And there's a lot more coming out there, which you can go online and read about all you want. You'll get an idea of. We're pretty transparent in what we're doing, and it's all for the better. The last thing what I'm doing is really look. I'm a cheerleader, I guess yell leader to be gender accurate, but it doesn't really matter. Whatever you want to call it, I'm out there to share what esports is today and the excitement of where it's going. Right. To go back to Mark Cuban, one of his famous quotes there is, if he had a chance, or why is he investing in esports? And his answer is like, well, 10 years ago I had a chance for $20 million to buy an MLS team. And today it's over $200 million. And that's in 10 years. My expectation is the same thing will happen to esports, but at half the time. So esports, maybe because of its digital space and its fluidity, is growing exponentially faster than any other parallel that we have to date. Whether you include sports as a whole or pick a sport specifically, it's growing at light speed, which is a measurement distance, not time. So, but anyways, you get the point, right? It's growing so fast, and that puts me in a lot of different situations. But it's always evangelizing and educating at the end of the day, right? I can't work with partners if those partners don't know what esports is and where it's going. They first have to get that before we can have really important conversations to move the space forward.
So I say in all our classes since the day I started this company, and you and I are both from Kansas, and we're really not Kansas anymore when you talk about sport business. And I say go global, go home. We have 163 countries represented. What's the chance of NACE? How international are they in membership? Or is it pretty domestic right now? But it seems the universities all over the world would be interested in an esport team. Much easier to start up, not easier to start up, but more relevant than just trying to do the whole facility and the physicality of that. NACE, what's your comments on the global growth of your esports?
So if you're asking about NACE is international in that we have Canadian members as well, but we are really constrained, even by our bylaws. We can only operate in North America. So we've been approached by different municipalities and some state officials in Japan, same thing in China, same thing in the Philippines, same thing in the Brazil, about either replicating what NACE is in their own home countries or expanding what NACE is to include their countries. Unfortunately, besides offering as much help as we can in terms of resources and data, we are restricted from operating in those places. Right? Our membership has us focused at home, really, and that's as a membership association, right? We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We abide by the will of our members. Me personally, I might have different ideas. Guess what? My personal ideas often get ignored, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But there are a ton of organizations, and I will say though, unfortunately, it is incredibly fragmented. But there are organizations in Germany, in the UK, especially Brazil, basically all over the world. You see either from the governmental level, like Saudi Arabia has a full government department, and so is Korea involved in esports, and that is expanding, or being started up by for-profit businesses or nonprofits, one or the other, who are trying to organize scholastic play either at the secondary level, at the primary level, because education system is different than here in North America, and what you call things. But you get the idea. The scholastic space is growing, but incredibly fragmented by country to country. There's a very little interconnectivity right now, though there are groups that are trying, like Twitch Student, which has brought together in a tournament fashion, some of the best schools, best college universities in the EU, plus the UK now to compete. But if you want to talk about room, pick your country. I guarantee there's opportunities to grow there.
Well, and to be honest with you, that's what I love most about our online. There's no barriers, and you're going to be surprised at the international flavor you get in your weekly class. Ike, who worked very closely with you on putting this together, I'm very excited. But Ike has a question for you, and then we'll call it a day. We always stay, in our hour. That's what we give every week to you and everybody else. We're just really lucky. But Ike, go ahead with your final question, and we'll close it out and bring Adam in.
Definitely. Michael, it's good to see you, and thanks for taking some time as well for today. But I actually had two-part, but the international that you guys just kind of discussed answered my first question. So I wanted to go to professional, traditional sports organizations like the NFL, NBA, things like that. They've added that esports element to kind of their brand. The NBA 2K League, I think, has maybe 10 to 15 teams that are associated with the NBA teams themselves. Even our own Portland Trailblazers have an NBA 2K team and things like that. And I'm not really sure as to where the NFL has fit into it. I know the MLS has done something very similar. They run their own tournaments. I'm curious about the validity that brings to just kind of the North American market for people that may still think esports are for people in their basement. They never see the sun, anything like that. And I'm a hardcore football fan. I go to Foxborough. I see every single Pats game, that kind of thing. Do you see that kind of adding a sense of validity? Like, oh, these two things are actually in a way connected and are good for both brands?
Great question. And then after this, Michael, we'll do Toddy, and then we'll call it a day, and I'll bring Adam in.
Sure. So I think it's better to ask yourself, why is the MLS, the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, why are they all either starting their own separate esport leagues in these sport games that are digital comparisons or digital representations of their actual core product, or even starting their own leagues like the NBA 2K League, EMLS, right? Just ask yourself, why are they doing that? Well, it doesn't take a big leap of logic to understand that they're trying to push back against an increasing age of their core fan, of their average fan, right? And all of those leagues that you mentioned, the average age of their fan is increasing year over year. That's a very scary thought, because that means literally your fan base is dying out and you're not replacing them with younger generations, and certainly not growing it either. That's not to say that the NFL is going away anytime soon, right? There's still massive machines, right? But it does show that they immediately are looking for ways to bring in that next generation of fans. And with so much, especially in North America, but you can say this really anywhere in any modern economy with modern infrastructure, where gaming is like the core main interest of name the youth generation, right? They're trying to use their digital representation of their core product as a way to bring in those fans, right? If you love NBA 2K so much, well, here's it in a sport-like fashion. And if you like that so much, pay attention to the NBA as well, right? They're very much ran in parallel to each other. And that's why the team names are still the same team names across, whether it's the esports league or the traditional athletic league. So it's a monumental effort on their side. I think it's done really well. I think it's done really well considering the investment that they put in, which it's not even close to what they're putting in anywhere, even at the team level
Yeah.
in traditional athletics. But huge returns. NASCAR has been a golden trophy winner over COVID, right? Growing sim racing out of nowhere and getting 700,000 people watching it per race, getting their own professional race car drivers actually start jumping on the digital racing and competing that way. I mean, it's been fantastic to watch. And if you caught on ESPN, great, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's to capture the younger demographic.
Great stuff. Let's go to Toddy, and then we'll turn it over to Adam. Toddy, welcome in with your question. Unmute yourself, Iker. I blame Ike when something goes wrong. Ike, can you unmute? Toddy, we're trying to unmute you. There you go.
Yeah,
there we go.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, good. Again, thanks a lot for putting this together. And I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to try and make this as quickly as possible. I'm assistant professor of sports management at a small college here at in Columbia, South Carolina, Allen University. But my question, came up when I took a group of students to graduate school seminar, trying to get into athletic training. And so that's where the question came up. So what is, in terms of personnel, what is the space for athletic trainers? What do they do with the gamers during the game? So is there
That's a good question.
Is there a national structure for that right now?
So yeah, thankfully I worked a long time in the athletics world, so I know what you're talking about. ATs, God bless them, the angels on the field, right? But the answer to your question, no. And there's a bunch of individuals and organizations who are trying to figure out the athletic training space for esports. There's a ton of research being done right now on that.
Okay.
Could I say there's consensus right now? No, there's a lot of different competing even ideologies on the space. But yes, athletic trainers are certainly a thing. Weight training at the scholastic space for any one of our schools is very, very normal, right? So cardio and weight training being ran under the supervision of trained professionals on campus, absolutely a thing, because we know that there is a core. I'm getting too far into the weeds here.
No.
But anyways, when you're on your keyboard, right? On a keyboard, basically you're talking about your short muscle fiber allows you to do this very quickly. And I'm older, so younger people do this a lot faster.
You're really old, right?
For esports, yes, as a competitor, yeah. But anyways, the only real way we know to build up that is just increasing muscle mass. And so if you look at the actual physiques of high-level professional players, especially something that requires fast and precise movement like CSGO players, those guys are ripped. That's not accidental. They're doing it because a millisecond difference or a pixel difference in aim could be the difference between them making $1 million off a tournament or not. I mean, it's high stakes. And you see that in professional athletics, right? Where even the smallest advantage is a crucial advantage when the stakes are so high.
Michael, go ahead.
So yeah, there is no massive consensus, but tons of groups are trying to figure it out right now.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, I've been doing a lot of doc talks. I feel connected. And when I come to Kansas City, we pick the barbecue, you pick it. But I can't wait to see you this summer. And you're a blessing to be we're going to do a good job for you and make it a win-win. I'm going to turn the mic over to Adam. Michael, thank you. Have a good evening. Adam's going to come in, do some house chores, any questions you have. And thank you. What a great dynamic, interactive class. This is an exciting time. And Adam, thanks for coming in today.
You're welcome, Dr. Lashbrook, and thank you, Michael, for coming in and speaking about the esports course. I'm going to keep Ike in as well in case if there's any further questions on the course specifically, but just wanted to go through and let everyone know what sports management worldwide is all about. We have over 30 different courses that you're able to take, all instructed by industry professionals like Michael within the esports industry. They're all 8 weeks online courses. You have live Zoom video chats with your instructors on a weekly basis. Those happen either once or twice a week, depending on the course. The live Zoom chats typically last about 60 to 90 minutes. And that also kind of depends on the course and what week you're in. a lot of people ask, what happens after the course? So after the courses, we have free resume services that will gear your resume towards a career in the industry you're taking your course in. There are certain things that teams and companies are looking for on a resume to bring people in for the interview process, and that's where our courses come into play. You can also use your instructors as references, which helps out a lot. Name dropping always helps, opening up your network within the industry you want to work in. And then also we have a whole job links area of what teams are hiring and for what positions and where to be sending your resume. Also, the instructors, one of the first things you do is if you do not have a LinkedIn account, you set up a LinkedIn account, and instructors will stay in touch with the students via LinkedIn even after the course, and will be giving out opportunities via LinkedIn before they go to the public as well. So those are some of the things we do. We also have a partnership with Concordia University of Chicago. If you're interested in getting a master's degree or a doctorate degree, so that's an opportunity that we've set up with Concordia University of Chicago. If you're an alumni with us, if you've taken some other courses, you do receive a $300 discount. If you're interested in multiple courses, and this is your first time with us, you do receive a $400 discount. We have a new advanced certificate programs in several of the major sports like football, baseball, hockey, basketball, to where a new hot term in those industries are getting badges for on your resume. When you do one of those advanced certificates, not only do you get a greatly discounted price, but you also get one of those badges to put on your resume, and also we'll post it on your LinkedIn as well. So those are some of the things that we offer at Sports Management Worldwide. I wanted to bring Ike back in one more time just to see if he had any summaries. I did want to say Michael's course, the esports course, will be coming up here on April 26th. Ike helped go over some of that curriculum. Is there anything specifically, Ike, that you wanted to maybe mention that wasn't able to go over in the doc talk?
I mean, Michael did a great job of describing a lot of what the course is going to go over, and I saw Charisse kind of dropped in the chat what the 8-week breakdown is, and that can also be found on our website. I think, as Michael had said, there's a lot of professional focus that the class is going to be on, which I think is really important. So for people that are either transitioning out of college and want to find a job within the esports space, or perhaps someone that is currently in college and wants to learn from Michael, about what it is to kind of start their own team and things like that. Obviously, with NACE and that company, and with Michael's background within it, there's a lot to be learned there. And I also want to highlight the other instructor. His name is Naeem Shabir. He's based over in the UK, and he's also he's co-founded one of his own companies, and they're an online events tournament based company. And so really between Michael and Naeem, you're getting a lot of professional experience within the esports space, and some really critical ones. I mean, the event space is huge. The strategic partnerships, sponsorships, the athlete representation is a really kind of booming and emerging market space. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to learn in a lot of different areas, which is a huge part of why we brought in Michael and why we brought on Naeem, because they're experienced in those major sectors. So I do want to highlight that. I saw, and I've obviously been listening this entire time to a lot of people that are currently in colleges and our administrators and our teachers and things like that. So getting the opportunity to learn from Michael and then also learn from Naeem at the same time, I think it's really a win-win.
Great. I know that I have a professor from Eastern Kentucky University that's going to be signing up for the course because they're starting to set up an esports program as well.
I believe they're a member of NACE currently, if I remember that correctly. So yeah, it's very popular.
And just for some of the administrators out there, I know he presented it to his college, and the colleges ended up paying for him to actually take our course. So that could be an option for some of the administrators that were in the chat today. Also, what I wanted to mention from what was spoke about during the chat was, if you are interested in pairing this with another course, it sounds like the name, image, likeness course possibly, or also the athlete marketing and branding. Would that be a good route to go, do you think?
I think so. I mean, it sounds like the name, image, and likeness factor is. I just saw Michael dropped in the chat that Eastern Kentucky is a part of NACE, so that's cool.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the athlete marketing and branding side is huge, because the fact that esports players can already take advantage of name, image, and likeness. You know, there isn't as much compliance work as it sounds like to go through now. So kind of just jumping straight into it is going to be huge. But I think either one of those classes would be really beneficial. And learning from Kristen Kaliga, who's a professional NFL agent and an expert marketer. She's has always been the agent for Doug Flutie. Those who remember Flutie Flakes will probably kind of clue into what type of a marketing brain she is. So she teaches the athlete marketing branding class, and then Mark Eisenberg, who is going to teach the name, image, and likeness class. He actually just had his doc talk, and I know we had sent out our announcement through NASM, which I'm sure is how a lot of administrators jumped on this call. So if any of the NASM people would like to hear that name, image, and likeness doc talk, we'd be happy to send out that recording too. But I think either one of those is really going to be a great opportunity for growth and monetizing, which is awesome.
Great. I can't think of anything else that I have left out, unless if you can. Did anyone have any questions for Ike and myself in regards to sports management worldwide as a company? We've been in business for 20 years. I can tell you that we've grown exponentially. And I can tell you over the last 2 years, with things shifting to an online realm, we've been doing online for the full 20 years. So yeah, we got a pretty good handle on it.
Absolutely.
Anything else that you would like to add?
No, I just wanted to give the shout out to Keith Denslow. He took the class, I think, the first time that it came around. He's with Rogers State University. So Keith, good to see that you're on the call. He was a big fan of the course, and someone who we're very glad to see here in the chat. But yeah, I'd say, take a look at the next start date with Michael and Naeem. It's going to be starting April 26th. Michael has his chats on Wednesday nights, I believe, at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then Naeem goes the very next day, Thursday. I believe that's at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So it's really a great opportunity. We're very excited to have both of these two gentlemen here to teach with us, as with all of our faculty. So industry professionals, and I'm just very excited to have gotten the opportunity to help put this curriculum together with both of them. So.
And also, just one more thing, actually, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Just to let everyone know, when it comes to the Zoom chats, if there is a conflict, we understand that life happens. If there's a conflict where you have something planned or another commitment, when one of those is taking place, they all are recorded and archived and sent out to you. Is it within that night, or is it the very next morning?
I believe it's within 24 hours. The recording has to become available, and then it sends out. So it's about 24 hours after.
24 hours after, and then you're able to go back and listen to it, and you do have access to the instructors via email and or phone. So if you do happen to miss one of those Zoom chats, you can listen to the recording, and then if you have any questions, you are able to contact your instructor directly.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's I'm really excited for it. I'll be on a few of those calls with Michael and Naeem for their first go arounds, as I'm sure will Dr. Lashbrook. So very excited for it. I'm hoping to see a lot of these faces here in the class itself, and I want to give a big shout out to Michael for taking the time. We understand how busy he is, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions come up. Now's the time to ask it. Otherwise, you'll be contacted, I'm sure, by one of our career advisors about the upcoming course on the 26th. Or you can just, get in touch with anyone at the office through the website.
Absolutely. And this recording will also be sent out tomorrow once it becomes available to us. So similar to how that system works with the classes, everyone will be getting a copy of this, especially for those that didn't make it in live. So not to worry, you guys can go back and re-listen to it. So Adam, thank you very much. Dr. Lashbrook, who has departed, thank you to him, and to Michael, of course, thank you for taking the time. We look forward to having everyone in the class.
Great. Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Ike.
Thanks, guys.